Welcome into Texans today, and we've got a jam-packed show for you on tap today. Why the Texans traded Laremy Tunsil and the fallout after that massive move. I have some bombshell reporting done by two very credible people in NFL circles, Albert Breer and Aaron Wilson. We'll break down those reports on today's show. Before I get into it, though, the main question I need to ask everybody, it's, obviously 48 hours, roughly, give or take, after the Laremy Tunsil trade. The fallout has happened. The dust is settled, and I want to know now, after your emotions are back, after, it's not just hitting you on the day of the trade, do you think it was the right move for the Texans to trade Laremy Tunsil? Go in the comment section, give me your opinion, and let me know why you're thinking the way you are, because today's show might just change your mind. First, let's discuss the reasoning behind the move and Albert Breer's reporting on why the Texans decided to move on from Laremy Tunsil. We'll get into his report in just a second, but there were some other reports out there as well onto why this happened, and I have three reasons. I boiled it down to three big main reasons on why the Texans decided to make this move. First up, the money. The money around Laremy Tunsil. They know a lot of contracts are due up for this Houston Texans team, and they felt like a 30-year-old who's continuing to want more and more new contracts, new contract extensions, and more money down the road. They felt like it was a lose-lose situation for them, and they felt like they needed to get on top of it before it was too late with the Laremy Tunsil trade decision. This coming from Texans Cap. If you're not following Texans Cap on X on Twitter, you're doing it wrong, because he is doing an awesome job keeping everybody updated with the financial situations of the Houston Texans. He tweeted this out after the Laremy Tunsil trade. Laremy Tunsil trade will create $13.85 million in cap savings this year and save the Texans $42.7 million in cash over the next 2 years. This is important because replacing him, Blake Fisher, on a rookie deal, that means in essence you're not paying one of your tackles top-level money, which means you can now pay some of your other younger guys that money that you save with Laremy Tunsil. I don't know, maybe like a Derek Stingley Jr. who's up for a contract extension, a CJ Stroud who next year surely is going to want big money, want to cash in after we saw the Josh Allen extension this offseason. He's going to want around that price range, and Will Anderson Jr., we're going to have to pay him big as well. Myles Garrett just got $40 million. Is that the starting point for a Will Anderson Jr.? So looking off into the horizon, the Texans are saying, yeah, we're going to have to save a lot of money, and we're going to have to make some tough decisions on where we spend because we want to lock up our young core. Number two is scheme. With Nick Caley's offense, what he's going to want to predicate, I think he wants an emphasis on running the football. And as much as I love Laremy Tunsil and think that he's a great left tackle, I don't know if that necessarily fits with what Nick Caley wants to transform this Texans offense into. Let's look at his 2024 PFF grades, for example. Obviously, you look, 76.5 overall. You're like, okay, that's a pretty decent number. His pass blocking number is way up there, 88.6. He was one of the top-rated pass blocking tackles according to PFF. His run blocking, though, a 73.6. And then, obviously, you have the penalty problems that have been highlighted a ton for Laremy Tunsil in the 2024 season. Hits, hurries as well. He took a little bit of a step back as a pass blocker last year. And I don't know if he's that mauler run blocker at the left tackle that the Texans are necessarily looking for to help revamp this offensive line and make this a more balanced team, a more, run-heavy team behind Joe Mixon. And even though he's a great pass blocker, his run blocking and his toughness is still up for debate. I really think, there's been a lot of reports out there around Laremy Tunsil, not wanting to practice, not wanting to, fight through some injuries, which I take those with a grain of salt. He's played through a ton of injuries. He's done, battle tested on the field. He plays a gladiator sport in the NFL. So some of those I do take with a grain of salt. But with the Texans, with what they're wanting to do forward, and this goes right into my last point, they don't think he has that swarm mentality. And we've seen it from the leaders from this Texans team, the young leaders saying, this is a grind. This is a team that wants to outwork every single person in the NFL, every other team in the NFL. This team wants that relentless mindset. That's what the RM stands for in Swarm. Relentless mindset. And I feel like the Texans felt like Laremy Tunsil didn't have that. And according to Albert Breer's reporting, I think this kind of highlights that. This is what Albert Breer had to say. Tunsil, to be clear, is well liked in the Texans building. That said, he isn't a tone setter, and the offensive line room isn't becoming, or in the offensive line room in Houston last year went the wrong way, becoming borderline toxic, which adds context to the trade of Kenyon Green and the release of Shaq Mason. The bottom line from Albert Breer's bombshell report around Laremy Tunsil is that there is a culture shift going on with the Houston Texans, and they want some tone setters. They want some maulers. They want some guys with that relentless mindset, the RM in the Swarm. And the fact is, the Texans' offensive line last year didn't bring that. They didn't bring that toughness. They didn't bring that dog mentality, and that's what the Texans are looking to change. And he mentioned, Kenyon Green, Shaq Mason, also on the way out. The Texans want to revamp this offensive line and bring that Swarm mentality. And Will Anderson Jr., he said it himself earlier this year. Texans ain't for everyone. They want guys who are grinders. They want guys who are junkyard dogs, who are going to outwork you, outplay you, out-hustle you every single down. And as good as Laremy Tunsil was, as talented as Laremy Tunsil was, the front office, the coaching staff, I feel like didn't think he had that Swarm mentality and didn't have enough of that dog in him to be one of the leaders of this Texans team. Now, coming up next, a report on who the next left tackle will be from my buddy Aaron Wilson, always giving the best Texans scoops out there. If you're not following him, are you even really a Texans fan? We'll talk about that report in just a moment. But before we do, if you need a new Texans jersey, go check it out with our friends over at Fanatics. They have them all for you, all different shapes, sizes, colors, whatever you need, whatever player you want, they got you covered with our friends at Fanatics. Use this link, chatsports.com/Texans jerseys. That will let them know that we sent you over to the website, gives us a little bit of credit, helps out Texans Today a little bit, and you can get your brand new jersey, do a little window shopping over there with our friends over at Fanatics. This link right here will be in the comment section and description of today's video. The Stingley Battle Reds are absolutely sick. I think that's the next one I need to get over with our friends at Fanatics. Now, let's talk about Aaron Wilson's report on who the next left tackle will be. He tweeted out yesterday that it seems like the Texans are leaning towards moving Titus Howard to left tackle and having Blake Fisher be the right tackle. Now, in my video early yesterday morning, which I put out a ton of content yesterday, so you might have missed it, I said this was option A for the Texans, was to move either Titus Howard or Blake Fisher to left tackle. I just wasn't sure who they were leaning towards. But according to Aaron Wilson, it looks like they're going to go with Howard, at least for now, to be the left tackle penciled in for next season. Now, Titus Howard has played left tackle before. You have to go all the way back to 2021. He played 4 games. Here are his PFF numbers from those 4 games in 2021 where he did play left tackle. You look, not bad numbers, especially, the run blocking, pass blocking grades. Not bad whatsoever. Up against the Jets, Colts, Seahawks, and Titans. He did a pretty good job against those teams. And the numbers, like I said, not bad for Titus at left tackle. And maybe they feel like he could be a really good left tackle if he gets the opportunity. So they move Titus Howard to left tackle, Blake Fisher to right tackle. This is your Texans offensive line depth chart at the moment right now. And obviously, I don't feel comfortable with Jarrett Patterson starting next to Juice Scruggs. I think there's more moves to be made, but a decent start, and I'm a little less worried about it now that I'm kind of looking more into it, looking at some of the guys the Texans already have at where this offensive line is going to be. Now, is Titus Howard going to be the starting left tackle next year? I still think that's up in the air, though. I think the Texans go into this draft, and they look to take the best lineman available in the first round, whether that's at 25 or whether they have to move up a couple spots. They're going to take the best offensive lineman available, and I think that determines where Howard plays. I think if they find a really good left tackle in round 1, they maybe say, hey, Titus, we're going to either slot you in at left guard or do something with Blake Fisher and have Titus play the right tackle. But I think at the end of the day, The draft is going to determine where Howard and Blake Fisher play along this offensive line. Now, I asked you early in that video yesterday, who do you think is going to be the left tackle? After seeing everything with Tytus Howard, after seeing all this, let me know your prediction. Who do you think will play left tackle this year for the Houston Texans? Give me your prediction down in the comments section. And since we were talking about the draft, here are my 5 first-round targets for the Houston Texans. Now, I didn't put Will Campbell and I didn't put Armin Mimbu in these because I've said it before. I think both of those guys are top 10, at least top 12 picks in this year's draft. So here are the guys that I think might be able to slide down to you, or you might have to trade up a couple picks to get them. Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Many regard him as maybe one of the best prospects, but does come with some injury history. Kelvin Banks played left tackle for 3 seasons for the University of Texas. Actually, my producer, Justin Honore, a University of Texas Longhorn alum. Pretty good, right? He's pretty good, pretty good. Could be the left tackle of the future. Gray Zabel impressed a ton of people at the Senior Bowl and at the Combine. He's getting a lot of first-round buzz. A really good center, but can also play guard. Tyler Booker, I know we're all freaking out about his RAS scores and that he did bad at the Combine. If you look at the tape and if you really kind of look into Tyler Booker, he is a mauler, and I think he could be the option for the Texans if they stay put at 25. And another guy to throw in there, I've heard a lot of buzz around Josh Connerly, the offensive tackle from Oregon, getting that late first-round buzz as well. So if the Texans want to go another guy in the first round, a first-round talent, Josh Connerly could be another name to consider. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. Make sure you hit that sub button and keep us locked in. Whenever there's Texans news, whenever there's Texans rumors, we are your one-stop shop for everything around the Houston Texans here. So hit that sub button. It's 100% free, so there's nothing to lose. Do it for a week. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. But let me show you why you need to have this channel locked in. And if you even want more content around the Texans, I'm always tweeting out on X at Jeremy Chuggs. My DMs are open if you want to hit me up. If you want to chop it up, talk some Texans ball, hey, let's do it. Hit me up on social media.